All right, everybody, welcome back. We've got more quarterbacks to take a look at here. And now we are down to the second round. Obviously, that's something that can change at any given time. And in the case of quarterbacks, it often does. I've seen many examples over the years of quarterback prospects just rocket up the boards in the last month or two before the draft for no other reason than that they're a quarterback and there's some hunger on the part of the media and in some cases football general managers to just have more high profile quarterbacks. Ryan Tannehill was a great example of that. I remember Jay Cutler was kind of like that. I mean, Jay Cutler kind of made sense. I understand he had the big arm, and Tannehill tested really well, but for some reason, a lot of times, a lot of years, you see quarterbacks just suddenly jump up the board. And this guy's certainly a candidate for that. As of right now, none of the major big boards have him in the top round, have him in the first round. PFF actually has him all the way down in the fourth. That's probably at this point that's probably a little silly even for me. But we haven't quite seen him elevate into the first on most big boards. Would not be a surprise to see him go in the first regardless because of the nature of the position. He's been productive the last 2 years, thrown over 50 touchdowns, only 11 interceptions, and he's been a genuine dual threat. He's run for almost 900 yards, 11 touchdowns, good completion percentage overall. He's playing in that Lane Kiffin offense over in Ole Miss. And there's been a lot of enthusiasm and excitement around him as a prospect. For me personally, though, he still lacks things that I'm really looking for here. And we're still like if you're talking about taking him in the second round, I still have some pretty high expectations for that. So from what I see of Jaxson Dart as a prospect, I think that his mentals are very sharp. He's got an advanced cerebral understanding of playing quarterback, even down to like the ability to use hard count to get a defender to jump off sides or avoiding a particularly dangerous throw that he doesn't need to be making or reading a defense, all the way up to there. I think there is good stuff there. I think that his mental aspect, I think that his mentals are sharp. He's very accurate, I think. I think that he does have great accuracy on throws that are short and intermediate. And he can put zip on those throws too. The example that the Hawks Nest always uses, and it's a good example, is a quarterback like Matt Hasselbeck. Matt Hasselbeck did not have a very good arm, but his arm was capable of putting big time zip on short and intermediate throws so that you could fit it into a tight window and make the throw. He's not necessarily fast in a straight line, but he does have mobility. He does have dual threat ability. He does have the capacity to move around in the pocket and go get tough yards when he needs to. He's very good at reading man coverage and beating man coverage. He's very good at throwing against man coverage because of his accuracy and his cerebral understanding. And I'll say this, he's one of the few quarterbacks in this class that is a decent size. 223 pounds is not heavy, but that's above average for a quarterback over the last 25 years. He's got very short arms, though. Read into that as you will, but he's got T-Rex arms big time. Now, I maintain that his arm is not very special. I don't think his arm is particularly notable. It is like the Matt Hasselbeck arm, where, yeah, you can throw the deep ball, but it's not very pretty. It's not very good. It floats, it lingers in the air, and it's easy to catch up to as a defender. He struggles to put sauce on his deep throws, really struggles to get it down there, has to really wind up and fight to get it down there, and most of the time it doesn't get to where it wants to go. So you do have a little bit of a ceiling on your offense, I feel like, with that. I feel like there's just some places he can't quite go. I don't think he can quite put the sauce on the deep throws the way you need to at the NFL level. He doesn't have great anticipatory throw skills yet. He can throw accurately. He can throw with zip, and I think he's a smart player. But in terms of throwing players open and throwing with the knowledge that the player will be open when they get there, it's not quite there yet. He leans heavily on the Lane Kiffin offense, I think. Zone coverage can really throw him for a loop. You play zone against him, I think he struggles to see the zone defense and see the holes in it. And you pressure him, he doesn't handle it very well. I think pressure leads to mistakes and turnovers and panicking and dropping his eye level. So I don't really get his surge in draft stock recently. I think there's a lot to like, but I also think there's a lot to dislike. I think he can be a game manager. I think maybe he could be like a Brock Purdy. In fact, that might be the comp. It might be like Brock Purdy. And Brock Purdy was barely drafted. And I know that was obviously a mistake, but Brock Purdy shouldn't be a first round pick either. I don't even think Brock Purdy should be a second round pick. So to me, Jaxson Dart, late day 2, like you could get him near the tail end of round 3. I think that's okay. I think there's enough here to be okay there. I think that at the minimum, he will be like a capable backup quarterback, but I think the upside is just a little bit limited. Okay, one more quarterback for this video. This is another one that I want to spend a little bit more time on than the average because this guy's kind of controversial. Jalen Milroe of Alabama. This is another guy that I really don't get, although I will say on that front, I'm not exactly in small company here. I think a lot of people see Milroe as not really a quarterback, and that's where I am with him. I don't think he's a quarterback. He can play quarterback in college, which he did at Alabama, but I don't see it working in the NFL. He's got decent size, but he's not a Cam Newton, and that's kind of my issue here, right? He's 6'2", 217 pounds. This is not a guy who's going to be able to run with power the way he sometimes did in college. Now, you look at the big boards, it's pretty mixed. The Draft Network has him in the first. Few have him in the third. CBS has him in the fourth. The database has him in the mid-second. So that's kind of the aggregate right now. And over the last 2 years, you can see that he regressed massively in 2024. As a passer, he got significantly worse. He became far more prone to turnovers. He was far less effective overall as a passer. He did become a little bit more effective as a runner, but overall as a player, I still think he regressed a little bit. Obviously, there were some logical reasons why that happened, but at the same time, I'm looking at this and I'm going, he didn't develop as a passer the way you would have liked to have seen. And you need to throw the ball when you're a quarterback at some point, especially when, while this guy is fast and athletic, he's not big. He's not going to be able to take a lot of hits in the NFL. Now, he is a great athlete. In fact, if I had to make a comparison with Jalen Milroe, I'd call him like the poor version of Anthony Richardson. And while Anthony Richardson was a much better athlete, we can also see how that's worked out so far for the Colts. I think Jalen Milroe is like a worse version of that. That gives you an idea of how little I think of him as a quarterback. He does have dual threat upside. He does legitimately run with speed, acceleration, agility, elusiveness. He is legitimately a skilled ball carrier. He does have a big arm. He can get it downfield. He can make most of the throws theoretically. He can muscle the ball into small windows. There is some skill there with the arm. Unfortunately, it's a blunt instrument, and the rest of the stuff that you need to succeed as an NFL quarterback hasn't been there yet, but the arm is big. He does have some limited ability to read defenses. This is not just a one-read-and-go guy all the time. He is legitimately a skilled runner. He is dangerous outside the pocket. Defenses struggle to contain him outside the pocket. You get him on the run, you do have something. And he might be able to change positions in the NFL. And that might sound like I'm insulting him, but I really don't mean it that way. This guy could be a tight end. This guy could be a trick play running back. This guy could be a couple of different things if quarterback doesn't work out. He has no nuance with his throws. That's my main con here. He doesn't feather the ball in. He doesn't layer it in. Everything is a fastball. Everything is just whistle the ball in as fast as I can. It makes me think of Colin Kaepernick a little bit. Not everything has to be 100 miles an hour. He's mechanically poor, and that brings down his accuracy. I know Alabama didn't have the greatest talent in the world last year, but when you're quarterbacking the Crimson Tide, there should be more than enough talent out there for you to be a better passer than this. Not even 65% completion, 16 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. And, I mean, Alabama wasn't very good, right? Alabama didn't even make the playoff, which is well below their standard. So, to me, that tells you that Jalen Milroe just just doesn't quite have it. Like I said, he regressed significantly in 2024 as a passer. When pressure gets to him, he doesn't really handle it that well at all. He can escape it, but that doesn't mean he's going to make great decisions even after he escapes it. Overall, I do think he's a poor decision maker. And the more cerebral elements of football, like pre-snap and post-snap reading defenses, it's not there yet. And while he is dangerous outside the pocket, I think he has a poor feel for things when he's inside the pocket. And while sometimes his chaos can create good things, it also often leads to negative things. So he's very talented. He may be the most talented quarterback in this draft. That includes Cam Ward. He's faster and probably a more skilled runner, and he has a bigger arm than Cam Ward. But I can't imagine him succeeding at quarterback in the NFL. I don't think he has an understanding of how to be one, and I see him as a trick play player. I see him as somebody that you move to tight end or running back, and you get good stuff out of his athletic ability, but you don't ask him to be a passer. Maybe he could be like Cordell Stewart, I guess, but I don't see this guy succeeding as a full-on quarterback. So I would not take Milroe until the 5th round, and I would look at him as a gadget player and trick play player. I would look at him maybe to like return kicks almost. I would try to find ways to utilize him that have nothing to do with him playing under center. I want him in other spots. I could see it working there, but I don't really consider him to be much of a quarterback. So I know both of those takes are going to be a little controversial because both those guys, Dart and Milroe, have fans, but that is how I feel. That is my takeaway from both. I don't like either. I don't want either. I think they both are not what some are making them out to be. All right, let me know what you guys think. I'm going to get out of here. See you guys later, and go Hawks.